the hard way. You're not allowed to start early now. People, I know. Can't. All the people at home, they can't see you until it starts. Yeah, now. Hello, people at home. Now we can start. Thank you for waiting. We waited for you.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's great to see everybody. We used to invite guests to introduce themselves. Can we get a little introduction? Can Barney be introduced and? Barney. His Hebrew name's Baruch. That's given to him many decades ago. It's wonderful to have everybody here. It's Sukkot. It's our first time in the sukkah. We just got the roof up on the sukkah and the decorations in the sukkah, and it's a perfect Sukkot evening. All the people celebrating Sukkot in Florida and Arizona, they're too hot, and the people, in Maine are too cold, but in Ohio, Sukkot this year is at the perfect time. It's perfect weather right now, and so at this minute, when it's not raining. So it's nice to have everybody in our sukkah. We'll start by lighting our candles. We invite Candy Sartori to light our candles. The blessing is found on page 2.
May the brightness of these candles banish all gloom, doom, anxiety, and care from my heart and from the hearts of my loved ones. May this Shabbat bring us peace, serenity, joy, and rest. Keep a glow within us, O God, the spirit of gratitude for your many blessings, so that we may know the sweet taste of contentment and the rich harvest of sharing. Kindle in the homes of our communities a deeper love for one another, for our people, and for the world.
There you go. There we go. All right. It's okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 20, the words of Lachadodi ask us to look back through our week and to begin Shabbat together with joy.
Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad. Hishmiyanu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad. Shemo echad. L'Shem ol tifaret v'litila. Lecha dodi. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha. Ki hi mekor havaracha. Merosh mikedem nasucha. Sof maaseh v'mashcha v'tchila. Lecha dodi. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva ora kumiori, uri, shirdaveri, kevod Adonai ala yiknigla. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela.
Please face our entrance or the entrance to your home if you're watching from home.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala. Gam b'simcha uv'sochula. Toch emunah am segula. Boi chala. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likra kala. B'nei Shabbat nekabela.
You can be seated if you'd like. Shalom Aleichem. We wish for the best parts of this week to continue on into the week ahead.
Shalom
Page 24.
Aleichem. Hamalachi hasharet. Malachi Elyon. Mi melech malachi hamlachim akadosh baruch hu. Boachem l'shalom malachi hashalom malachi elyon. Mi melech malachi hamlachim kadosh baruch hu. Baruch hu ni l'shalom malachi hashalom malachi elyon. Mi melech malachi hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Tzedchem l'shalom malachi hashalom malachi elyon. Mi melech malachi hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu.
Page 26.
Yikadav yikadash shemei rabbah. Be'amadi vrachirutei v'yamlich machutei. B'chayekon u'v'yamechon u'v'chayedechol ben Yisrael. Bagala, u'v'zman kari, v'maru amen. Yehesh me'rabah mevorach, le'alamu amen almaya yitbarach. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitroma, v'yitnasi, v'yitadar, v'yitali, v'yitalal, shemei d'kodesh barichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran be'alma, v'yimeru, amen.
Please rise as we face east. Baruch Hu, page 28.
Lai la 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 la. Lai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruchu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Hamevorach leolam va'id. Hamevorach, Hamevorach leolam va'id.
You can face forward again as we remain standing. This is an hour of change as we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? For in this hour of change and within it we stand quietly. What lies before us? Shall we draw back or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv, Aravim. Please join with me at the top of page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me, did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed.
Please be seated, page 36.
V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh asher Elokim mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'latecha b'derech ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Last week, I believe we talked about the Michamocha as an internal sense of crossing the parts of our lives that we feel hold us back, finding our own personal freedoms. This week, perhaps, as we often do, we look at the Michamocha more as a statement about the world. People living under a bridge, having crossed a river, people waiting in hospitals. Legislation, as many of us who get far too many Jewish emails got this week. Legislation that puts Israel's defense one day on the docket, one day off the docket, and back on the docket. Things seem to change awfully quickly in people's lives. And so for the moments in which we cross the river safely, in which we get to the other side and we realize that what we have to hold on to is safe and secure, that we are protected, that we can continue moving forward, we offer the words of Michamocha, words that we've shared for centuries to celebrate the freedoms we have. Page 40.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך Bokeyayam, Livnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zelianu ve'omeru, Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, le'olam va'ed.
Let there be love and understanding among us as peace and friendship become our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, page 42.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomrinu l'chaim. Ufros alinu sukat shalomecha, ufros alinu sukat shalomecha, amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai.
Grab a prop real quick before. I was sitting with somebody in my sukkah today. We were reflecting on the holidays, and it struck us that the high holy days, which we put so much emphasis on for eternity, they don't fit the times we're in, right? I mean, the idea of gathering together in large groups of people over the course of 10 days doesn't fit a COVID world. So too, we're supposed to take our etrog. What we should do right now is I should smell it and then pass it around to all 40 of you sitting here, and let all of you put it right up against your nose, and then pass it to the next person and let them put it up against their nose. And so that too, not the most COVID safe thing. So what do we do with all this? In part is we've said for a long time, we many of us, have said that perhaps we overemphasize certain holidays that maybe aren't the best to emphasize for everybody. In other words, if you're only going to come, we say this every year, but it's good so we say it again. If you're only going to come to 2 services a year, maybe Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the ones where we hit you with the most guilt and the most pain and the most suffering, are not the ones that you should choose if you were only going to choose 2. Maybe choose Sukkot, where you get to be in a beautiful structure outside and meet people and talk, or Simchat Torah, where you get to dance, or Passover, where you get to taste all these foods and be around somebody's table. So maybe among the COVID keepers, as we talked about the holidays, maybe some of these lesser observed holidays, the ones that normally don't make the headline, that fall under the little finer print in the holiday listing, and that people don't come to as much. Maybe because on Sukkot, while smelling an etrog and passing it around is not the best idea, the idea of being in a sukkah with a couple people outside at one of the most beautiful times of year is perfect for now. And the idea, hopefully, God willing, things will be a ton safer at Passover. During Passover, during Tu B'Shvat, planting trees, all these things that usually just fall to the margins, maybe they will rise up and become more celebrated and more meaningful for us, because we won't take for granted the fact that we can sit here and be with each other and feel safe. So we hope everybody has a happy Sukkot. I did get to show you the etrog. People afterwards, if you want to see the etrog, come up. Just don't rub it against your nose and pass it to the next person. But it is always nice to smell the etrog and the smells and the sights of Sukkot. So we'll turn to our Amidah, page 42. Sorry, page 40. 6. We'll rise again.
Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufia Gita Hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanara, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezra Tzara. Ata Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol ata Rab le'Hoshia, Morid hatal. Mechakeh chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol, Berachamim rabim asomech, Noflim berofech cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umida melech, Melech meimit umechayev, Umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman ata lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol.
V'shimcha kadosh, ukdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha, Selah baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. Sukkot is also called Zman Simchatenu, our season of joy. Page 59, I offer this as part of our Amidah. We'll think of all the ways in which being outside, being in nature, seeing the beauty of the world, helps us to also see what is divine and godly in the world. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, God, the moon and the stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? What mortals that you take note of us? You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty, gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout this earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulcha na'eh lahodot. Blessed are you, God, who gives us goodness and allows us to be grateful. So we pray for the greatest source of peace to make its way to our world, page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Ki atah melech adon l'chol shalom. Ki atah melech adon l'chol shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam, Tasim Leolam, Tasim Leolam.
Take a moment for our own silent prayers.
Ose shalom imroma, uyasa shalom aleinu, ve'el kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Yasa shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'el kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. I thought the geese were a percussion for a minute there, right?
Page 253. Our Misha Berach, our prayer for healing. As we share this prayer, we'll invite you to share names of those who you know are in need of healing as their names become part of the prayer itself.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Laimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen.
If there are names people would like to share online, we invite you to type them into the chat, and if there are ones you'd like to share, please. Jocelyn. Howard Flock.
Max Joseph. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with Refuah Shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. And let us say, Amen.
Rabbi Phyllis Summer and Rabbi Alan Cook shared a story earlier this week. It goes as follows. Once there was a country ruled by a good-hearted king, if one could imagine such a thing. And the king, ordered that at his expense, the kingdom's slums and shacks were to be replaced by pleasant, bright houses. So all of the citizens gathered around with the king's money, and they went out, and they followed this very generous law. And the land, everywhere you look, it was prosperous, and people had beautiful homes as never before. And so the king decided to go out and inspect all of this goodness that had happened on his account. And everywhere he was greeted with great gratitude. Everybody had their new home. But as he walked through the capital city, the king found that there was this one forgotten corner, one broken down shack that housed a poor family, and so he knocked on their door. He was shocked to see that somehow there wasn't a beautiful home like there was throughout the rest of his country. How is it that you have not been given a house to live in? I gave everybody enough money so that they could build everybody else a house. The old man who lived in the house answered, well, the townspeople have forgotten us. They forgot to build us a house. They walked right by and didn't see us. The king said, if my people can forget this poor person, who they see all the time as they're walking to work every day, surely they can forget me, who they never see at all. Therefore, I have to give them a reminder, so that they shall never forget what I have done for them. And so after providing that family with the home that he had provided for everybody else, the king had the shack moved to the very center of the capital city, to where the Capitol monument stood, and hung a sign. It said, this is the kind of shack we all used to live in. Part of Sukkot is coming together. Part of it is doing some work with our hands after we sat for hours and hours. It's about being casual when we've just been formal. It's often this direct relationship to Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. But part of Sukkot is also about looking out at the world and looking at the places that we forget about too often, about remembering the fragility, about feeling the rain as it comes through the roof, because we are all used to having a roof that doesn't allow us to feel the rain. It's said about Sukkot that all year long the poor would observe people working in their fields, and that all year long they would see the blessings that these other Jews would get from their activities, while the poor would have nothing to take home into their houses. And they were completely dependent on the generosity of those who had more than them. And then the holiday season would come, and the poor person would have nothing to celebrate Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. No white tablecloth, no money to provide food for the great holidays. And then God supposedly said to the people of Israel, this is why you build Sukkot. You shall dwell in a sukkah for 7 days, for when the produce of your field is gathered, all of you will leave your fancy homes and be my guests in God's sukkah, where the wealthy are no different than the poor. You'll have 3 walls covered with a roof made from what's left over in the fields. This is the sukkah of every Jew, whether they are rich or whether they are poor. And so Sukkot is here to humble us, to remind us that we're all the same, and yet to remind us that some of us experience the world quite differently. On October 2nd and 3rd, our congregation is doing, because everything has to be different this year, Mitzvah Day, which usually is in the spring or even summer, is now in the fall. And so here we are. We're going to wrap up Sukkot, and the next thing we're going to do is Mitzvah Day. It's a perfect opportunity to get out and see how we can help those who perhaps don't live the way we do. The Ronald McDonald House, the Akron Food Bank. There's a whole list. There's an email you should have gotten in the last couple days to sign up for the projects. And secondly, right after Mitzvah Day, the Religious Action Center of Ohio, social justice conglomerate of all the Reformed congregations, has decided to take on an issue that is currently before the Ohio State Legislature, which is, believe it or not, I know we don't say this often, a bipartisan issue to rewrite the death penalty laws in the state of Ohio. And so Reformed congregations across the state are engaging in this. October 7th, there's going to be an informative meeting about how we're going to do that. If you want to be involved in that, send me an email. I'll get you signed up for the informational session on the 7th as we join together with tens of thousands of Reformed Jews across the state and other religious organizations on a bipartisan effort in Columbus to look at this law. Again, people for whom we probably don't even realize they exist here in our state. It's time to pay attention. It's that season, and I hope we can all do that a little bit during Sukkot and in the days after. We'll continue our service, page 282, as we'll rise for the Aleinu and face east once again.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atei gedula liatzer reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam,
V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Please be seated. It's hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. And yet memory can tell us only what we were in the company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. And yet, none of us is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. And in affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each other, whose life, even those who've ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. This week, we remember those that we've lost recently: Jennifer Lynn Barnhouse, Walter Hahn, and Marianne Pressman. We add to their names those that we lost at this season in years past: Rose T. Bogan, Sue Corbett, Parley Coburn, Harry Guerin, Irene Klein Goldman, Dr. Sidney J. Havra, Hannah Herman, Eva Cates, David C. Catan, Marvin Klein, Charlotte Coplin, Harry Kroll, Sophie Lassoff, Morris Meltzer, Jeanette Meerman, Dr. Max Nelson, Mary Newman, Molly Nussanow, William Osseroff, Sanford Rabb, Israel Reven, Nora Rosenblatt, Dr. Saul Rosenthal, Ethel Rawson, Sidney Roth, Sheldon Saferstein, Maureen Sanford, Dr. Jack A. Schwartz, Sidney Sood, Edward Weinberger, Maurice E. Whitelaw, and Georgette Zaruk. If there are names that I mispronounced or names you'd like to add, please share them. Page 294, we rise as we honor our loved ones with the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Kadal V'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma Divarach Yerutei V'yamlich Malchutei, B'chayechon U'vyomechon U'v'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, B'agala U'vizman Kariv V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam Omei Omaya, Yit Barak V'yishtabach V'yit Ba'ar V'yit Romam V'yit Naseh, V'yit Hadar V'yit Alev V'yit Halal Shemei Dekudesha B'richu, Le'ila Min Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tush B'chata V'nechamata, Damiran B'alma V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Osei Shalom B'mromav, Huya Asei Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Having connected with those that we've loved and lost, we connect with each other, either those you're standing next to or virtually, as we share the words of the priests, a blessing over you all. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך, וישם לך שלום.
May you feel God's presence within you always, and may you find peace.
Amen.
Please remain standing as we'll invite Candy Sartori to lead us in Kiddush, page 4 and 5 in the prayer book.
The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day God finished the work that God had been doing, and God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done. Baruch atah Adonai,
Olam borei peri hagaf.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodeshu b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit. Ki hu yom techila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ki banu bacharta v'yotanu kidashta mikol amim, v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen.
L'chaim. Candy, if you'll hold up the challah, we'll say motzi together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Thank you. A couple quick announcements. Monday, September 27th is our, you can be seated if you want, our Simchat Torah consecration service. It's inside with masks, and then afterwards, outside with s'mores.
And klezmer band.
And a klezmer band, sorry, I skipped that part. Klezmer band, s'mores, consecration, Simchat Torah. It should be a wonderful night of celebration. The next morning is Shmini Atzeret with a Yizkor service, 9 a.m. in the sanctuary here, and live streamed on all of our usual channels. And then Mitzvah Day, as I mentioned, is October 2nd and 3rd. Please sign up at mitzvahdayakron.com for the projects and join us as we come together with our interfaith partners for that day. We'll close with the words of Eitz Chaim Hi, that it is a tree of life, and therefore we hold fast to it as we continue to celebrate Sukkot and get ready for Simchat Torah.
Eitz Chaim Hi למחזיקים בה ותומכיה, מאושר עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכיה, מאושר. Shalom, 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 shalom. It's the tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It's the tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. 3 claps after shalom. Shalom, 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 shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody.